I want to thank everyone for being here today. Good morning. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. This is our first webinar for the year. We will have no short of 2 of them each month, sometimes a few more. We'll have a number of exciting in-person events for 2023. So welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Antoine Thompson, Executive Director for the Greater Washington Region Clean Cities Coalition. Good to see you all on with us this morning. I want to, as always, start off with a few announcements. One is that if you are not a member, we'd love for you to become a member. We will have some member-only events for 2023. And we also have, starting next week, some member-only business and funding opportunity information that will only go to members. We'll continue to have some general events for the public, but this year we're going to make sure we have a number of member-only related activities. So make sure you become a member. It's not very much to join, and there's different levels of membership, and so make sure you do that. If you're not interested in becoming a member, but you like what we do, you can go right to our website and make a donation today so that we can continue to do all the good work that we are doing. And there's also sponsorship opportunities as well. If you want to sponsor, you can be a member, you can be a donor, or you can be a sponsor as well. So we need all those are 3 categories, and be a good champion for this great work to save the planet and to make this region and country better for generations to come. We do have just a few quick announcements. One is on January 18th at 11 a.m. We will have our annual report kickoff. This is a really important event for all the local people, the regional people. This event really, we put out an annual report. You can actually go to our website and look under reports, but this is a report that we do for the U.S. Department of Energy, where we track some of the successes implementing efforts to reduce greenhouse gases and emissions in the region. And so stay tuned, please show up for that event. It's only an hour, and how you can help us make sure we show the federal government all the great work we're doing in the region. New vehicles, new technology, sustainability and efforts, all that good stuff. On January 31st, we'll have our fleet electrification webinar. Should be really exciting. A lot of great speakers for the fleet electrification webinar that will be on January 31st at 11 a.m. as well. Save the date, May 18th. It's going to be our annual golf outing at the Presidential golf course. So we're looking forward to that. In February, we'll have our kickoff reception. We're just waiting for the final approval on that site. And so once we get that, that'll come fast and furious as well around the second week in February. So those are the main announcements for today. But again, big push, join, donate, sponsor. So a lot of the great work that we are doing. So thank you for that. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our speaker for today. His name is Ron Zima with the Idle Free Guide, the idle reduction behavior modification expert. Ron is a former cross-Canada radio TV host and creator of Idle Free for Our Kids, a cause that began at his kids' elementary school in 2006. Today, Ron is CEO at Go Green Communications Incorporated, which has developed North America's idle-free behavioral research and practice into industry's idle reduction behavior modification coaching, certification, and branding solution for fleet operators. Ron has provided a couple of resources which will be provided in the chat. Take a tour of the behavioral science and program in less than 10 minutes. Find out more with our Clean City slide deck as well. And also today, Ron will talk about an opportunity and a promotional opportunity for those that are successful. We're going to give some out to the top first 3 people that sign up as well. So without further ado, I'd like to have Ron. The floor is yours. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you so much, Antoine. And as you mentioned, as a thank you from Go Green Communications to Antoine and Kimberly for this wonderful opportunity to present. We're going to have a significant giveaway later on in this presentation. Now, GWRCCC is an enthusiastic affiliate of our idle reduction program. And so we're going to acknowledge that a little bit later on. It will be a substantial gift for any organization tuned into this webinar, considering their own idle reduction initiative. So as we used to say in the old radio business, stay tuned. Now, this really did begin at my kids' elementary school back in the school year of 2005, 2006 as an idle reduction campaign. And this was back in the day, folks, when, yeah, I used to be an American idler, Canadian idler, same thing. I was a heavy idler myself, some 300 engine hours a year. My idling habit and the idling epidemic around North America were completely invisible to me. Now, the fact is that the air that our kids breathe around our public schools is some of the dirtiest air kids have to breathe in their lifetimes across North America. This is because of all the idling we do outside of schools. Today, all of our research and insights on how to flip driver beliefs and behaviors around idling an engine, any engine, across a state, across a city, across a continent, with our lessons on our e-learning management system, that's entirely possible now. And in this presentation, I'm going to provide the behavioral roadmap, the foundation to building a long-term idle reduction fleet culture. We're going to explore the 3 universal values, as it turns out, we share as drivers relative to the impact of our unconscious idling behavior. How to engage these values to transform driver idling beliefs and behaviors, and how to build a broader idle reduction culture by promoting these 3 values over time. Now, before we get to the psychology, we're going to look at the numbers, the mind-boggling metrics around idle reduction in fleet operations. My presentation, next slide, Kim. My presentation actually has 3 parts. Actually, you'll go to the next slide after that as well. Thank you. My presentation actually has 3 parts: the numbers, the psychology, and the how to get drivers to really care about idling. It is possible. Now, first, let's talk about the cost opportunity metrics for modifying driver idling behavior. Those of you that have seen idling data know that this is a really, really big deal. Here's our position at Go Green Communications. Idle reduction from driver behavior modification is the biggest cost and carbon reduction opportunity for fleet operators in the US and Canada in all industry sectors. Leaving out Class 8 trucking. Class 8 trucking is a universe unto itself, but we're talking about vocational fleets. We're talking about public and private fleets, government agency fleets, that sort of thing. 40% of engine hours are commonly spent on driver idling of some kind. Now, this point of view paper is based on extensive research dating back quite a few years, and it's actually been reviewed and edited by fleet management experts such as George Servant, who we work closely with here at Go Green. He's formerly fleet manager for the likes of Time Warner with some 37,000 vehicles in its nationwide fleet. And George was probably, is probably one of the top idle management experts in the field today. We're going to share, by the way, how to get our research in this point of view paper at the end of my slides. Kim, if you would, the next slide, slide 4. Now, there's a lot of folks who haven't seen the data, and that's because at least 70% of fleet operators are unaware of the enormous cost reduction opportunity. That's because from our research, about 70% of operators aren't looking at the numbers. They haven't got time or resources to make sense of their idling data. And here's where I urge everyone in management of a fleet operation, have a good look at your data on idle, not just because of the enormous cost in fuel, but because of these horrendous downstream costs that we see listed here, from leaving the key on in fossil fueled vehicles. For starters, idling in park generates a tremendous amount of carbon and toxic air pollution. And but then right behind that, the cascade of costs as you see them here. Added maintenance, compromised warranties, particularly in low mileage, high idle, high engine hour assets. In fact, just yesterday, working with a municipal agency in the Southeast, we were talking about life cycle management and the fact that they had to take a 7-year-old vehicle out of service because they've got to give it a new $22,000 engine because of high idle. Life cycle costs, vehicle downtime, employee productivity, carbon emissions and air quality is mentioned, and then there's the employee vehicle cost savings as well. So employees will save a ton of fuel and carbon in their personal vehicles. There's safety risk. You see that everywhere because of the vehicles with logos on the side left empty, idling, and they're in the coffee shop. And that leads to fleet reputation. Kim, the next slide, please. Now, the numbers are extraordinary. Take a look. These are numbers from a real-world vocational fleet with 2,480 on-the-road assets. Again, this is non-Class 8. We appreciate that there's no two fleets alike. However, in the world of high idle, this range of savings potential is not unusual. This is an actual idle reduction opportunity assessment. This helps fleet managers forecast a range of savings in fuel and CO2 by reducing driver idling behavior. Now, here's how we do it. Fleet operator vehicles are put into groups by vehicle class and similar idle characteristics, fuel type, estimated idle time, average annual fuel burn, which is critical, and up-to-date fuel prices from the likes of the Energy Information Agency, EIA. We can then provide a very good forecast of savings in fuel and CO2 based on a range of how drivers respond to the behavior modification e-learning. Now, a low forecast of just 30% nets a savings of 2.7 million in fuel, net all program costs over 2 years. Keep in mind, this is just a 30% reduction in the controllable idle piece of the pie. A 50% or high reduction net savings of 5.24 million in fuel and 52 tons of carbon. Wow. Keep in mind, these are fuel savings only. The downstream costs will be much more. In fact, we've calculated that from maintenance and downtime and those aspects could be triple the cost of fuel from driver idling behavior. In addition to carbon saved, there's the impact on exhaust pollution saved, such as exhaust exposure to employees, in many cases over many years, and the exhaust exposure to the greater community over many years. Further, by reducing driver idling by choice, the fleet operator is setting the example of fiscal and environmental responsibility for the whole world to see. Imagine the green fleet PR around saving 8,252 metric tons of greenhouse gas and preventing air pollution across your city or your state. The media loves these kinds of stories. The next slide, please, Kim. Now, thanks to today's telematics data, the types of idling have become much clearer. They can help determine the best idle reduction strategies and technologies. And we can see now, in fact, we've labeled 3 types of idling in vocational fleets. Operational idle is revenue generating idle. For example, power takeoff for running tools or the bucket of a bucket truck, etc. Induced idle is another category where the driver largely has no choice but to idle, stuck in traffic, for example. So we know that there is a lot of idle time beyond the control of the driver and the fleet manager. However, the third category, idling by driver choice, is a mostly controllable cost. This is where the engine may be kept running while the driver is eating their lunch, checking email, texting, making phone calls, waiting for a colleague, etc. Cooling or heating the vehicle while sitting in the coffee shop is a popular habit as well, as I mentioned before. Now, I can hear the question now, yes, idle-free guy, but what about when our fleet vehicle operators are going to be dealing with extreme hot and extreme cold? In response to our friends at Clark County, Nevada, we recently put together a report and a short video regarding the seasonality of idling and the big window for savings with extreme temperatures. What we found was that a good 8 months of the year, even in places like Las Vegas and Edmonton, Alberta, my hometown, so hot and cold, 8 months of the year are available for significant reductions in idle time behavior outside of the 4 months that are home to the most extreme temperatures, which are generally 2 months in winter and 2 months in summer. Next slide, please, Kim. This is a close-up look at the relational spreadsheet tool, part of what we call an idle reduction opportunity assessment. The tool has been developed at Go Green with the help of leading fleet management experts. And working with the fleet operator and their unique fleet characteristics, we are able to provide a very good forecast of what the operator will save in fuel and CO2 net all costs of the program. The key metric that we look for from the operator is average fuel burn per year for each unique class of vehicle. And to get a closer look at this process, simply go to our website, goidlefree.com, and click on the Contact Us button. Next slide, Kim, please. So why do we idle so much? US and Canadian drivers in personal and fleet vehicles are under the spell of old myths from the 60s and 70s. These myths are about as old as polyester and pet rocks and cost us billions in gallons of fuel every year. Turns out what was good for granddad's Impala in 1971 is now the worst operating condition for most vehicles built in the last 20 years. These myths have been handed down from generation to generation in our families, and we take it as the gospel. Today, they're firmly entrenched in our collective car driving consciousness. And in fact, these myths have grown stronger as automotive technology became better equipped to all but eliminate the need to idle, except in extreme heat and extreme cold, which means we could, if we cared enough about it, could eliminate 80 to 90% of our idling behavior and not die of hypothermia or heat exhaustion. But OEMs forgot to update us on how well their vehicles have been engineered to help eliminate the need for most idling. And here we are today with a 6.6 billion gallon annual idling habit across the US and Canada. So here's a challenge for everyone that's tuned into this webinar. After this presentation, I challenge you all to take a look around your town to see how many idling parked vehicles you can spot in a single day. And by the way, it's going to be hard to identify them many times because it's hard to see the exhaust or their running lights. Often no running lights today from an idling vehicle. Next slide, please, Kim. The OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers such as Ford, GM, etc., have largely buried their no need to idle messaging in their operator manuals, out of sight to the degree that we idle a lot more than we did 15 years ago when we began our research. And to make the point, a couple of years ago, Oak Ridge National Laboratory assembled as many operator manuals as they could find and highlighted the OEM's recommendations for idle management. Basically, they all say, do not idle our technology. In the meantime, we've demonstrated in our work that at least 80% of idling in light-duty cars and trucks can be eliminated with behavior modification. A minimum of 50 to 75% of idling can be reduced in heavier equipment like bucket trucks. The bottom line is today's vehicles are actually engineered to be driven, not idled, and designed to help drivers reduce idling. With much better insulation to keep the vehicle warm or cool in extreme temperatures, better battery and power systems to run accessories, and 21st century starters that will allow thousands of restarts annually. And that's right, restarts are okay, folks. Let's talk about the psychology around idle reduction behavior modification. Slide 10, the next slide there, Kim, please. Since 2006, beginning at my kids' elementary school, we've demonstrated that schools, communities, businesses, and fleet managers can create and continuously maintain an idle reduction culture by speaking to 3 universal values. Turns out that motivate drivers. Most of us share these values in varying degrees. These 3 values emotionally engage drivers and have a powerful, lasting effect on their beliefs and behaviors. These values trigger emotions in our hearts and minds and leads to deep, lasting driver engagement. And let's face it, even the best employees are largely indifferent about idling the company vehicle or burning up their fuel. That's because no one has updated them with compelling information. Your employees have right now 0 context today about why they should care about idling with so much other stuff going on. Furthermore, we've demonstrated conclusively when drivers are shown a direct cause and effect between their idling behavior and how much it impacts their kids, their cars, their cash, they're highly receptive to up-to-date idle reduction coaching. Further, greater than 80% of drivers will adopt a program that focuses on these values. In addition, we've seen these values have the same effect on union employees as it has on non-union employees. We're all emotional human beings. So here's your main takeaway of my presentation. If nothing else, this is what you want to implement. Communicate kids, cars, cash values in your messaging to employees with idle reduction. Drivers respond very well in varying degrees to one or all 3 of these values, particularly how their idling affects the health and environment of people they care about, from the grandkids with asthma to grandpa with OCPD. Next slide, Kim, slide 11. Now, historically, we see that most fleets have a large percentage of drivers who will jump on board right away responding to these values. There are going to be enthusiastic early adopters of the idle-free habit and benefits at home. Depending on the nature of your fleet and your driver profile, this enthusiastic peer group can readily be greater than 50% of your drivers. Drivers either have kids they care about, grandkids, cars they care about, cash they care about, or a combination of all three. And the idle-free message quickly resonates with them. And they're going to be a substantial base of support to rapidly build broader buy-in across the organization. Now, most drivers across North America are simply unaware of what their habit is costing their kids, their cars, their cash. They have zero context about idling's true cost today, as I mentioned. And with this hearts and minds strategy, I'm here to report that it's not a hard sell. This is not a hard sell with the rank and file. In fact, graduates of this process, including unionized personnel, have been known to thank management for providing this sorely needed upgrade to their 21st century idle management skills in today's fossil-fueled assets. And thanks to management's investment in the initiative, employees are saving huge amounts of cash, carbon, and exhaust pollution around their communities. What's not to like? The biggest challenge we've found with implementing an idle reduction initiative is getting management to make idle reduction a priority. And oftentimes it's not, because 70% of management not looking at their idle numbers. Slide 12, Kim. Now, as it turns out, with unconscious idling, drivers are finicky with what messages they receive and whom they receive them from. Subconsciously, we're always having a debate with ourselves with regards to who gets my attention, who can I trust, who has credibility, who will make me really care and not forget about idling. This is why in our practice, authentic messengers like school kids and auto experts and child doctors are key to delivering the idle reduction message. Intuitively, we know we shouldn't be idling around kids. 80% of the time, those exposed to emotionally engaging messengers and messages from the likes of our 5-year-old poster girl will embrace the idle-free message after receiving it. The bottom line is it's much more likely that the old school veteran at the controls of the bucket truck will commit his heart and his mind to idle reduction when he receives the message from a kid with asthma, rather than from a manager who wants him to save fuel in the municipal truck. Slide 13, please. Let's take a look at where idle reduction behavior modification e-learning fits in the solutions universe. Fleet managers should step back and subdivide the challenge of idle reduction into two segments. The first segment, new equipment. The second would be legacy equipment on the right-hand side of the slide. In new equipment, fleet managers have a number of choices directly from OEMs. The downside is that few, if any, managers have unlimited capital. Research tells us that about 9.5% of the fleet in North America is replaced annually, meaning that it could be 3 years before even a third of a manager's fleet is replaced with more fuel-efficient technology. So replacement programs through acquisitions is a long-term strategy. Now, on the legacy side, on the right-hand side, there's mechanical and programming solutions. However, the 800-pound gorilla in the room regarding legacy fleet fuel efficiency is modifying your driver's mindset and how they approach their portion of the fuel efficiency puzzle. And that is driver behavior modification. I mean, think about it. Who's at the center of the operating of that vehicle? A key virtue, as it is to look to the future and some point when our fleets will be all electric, the fact is that dramatic improvements in fuel efficiency and emissions reduction in a manager's legacy fleet are available right now. A well-managed idle reduction behavior modification program will produce phenomenal savings in a relatively short period of time, and oftentimes with no equipment to buy. These initiatives can quickly pay for themselves within the first year, and the reductions in greenhouse gas emissions and exhaust pollutants from driver choice idling are enormous. They are the icing on the cake from driver behavior modification. Kim, if you could, the next slide, please. So a little bit on Go Green Communications evolution and achievements. We originally created our unique program for schools and non-fleet businesses in Canada. This included working with car dealerships, employee and community groups, and the media. As a result, Idle Free for Our Kids became the prominent idle reduction cause brand in Canada, leading the promotion of National Clean Air Day for many years, among other things. Fleet managers then asked us to create a curriculum for the classroom, which became our first successful idle reduction program for a corporate fleet. As a result, the largest motor coach tour company in Atlantic Canada achieved an 80% reduction in driver idling, sustained over a 2-year period. We also earned a lot of green fleet PR across the country. Our idle-free bus was endorsed by the Winter Olympics. It carried the men's hockey teams for the games. And thanks to continuous improvement and feedback with fleet management, the classroom curriculum got better and better and was implemented at a major seaport with their ground services fleet. And that resulted in a 40% reduction in driver idling behavior in 4 months during one of the harshest, coldest winters in memory. And this in a fully unionized shop. Drivers loved the program. You can see a couple of them pictured here. Soon after that accomplishment, we realized that if we were going to help as many fleet operators around the US and Canada as we could, we had to scale the program, get the program and certification online. So that's what we've done. And in our first test of the e-learning with an interstate California bus fleet based in Sacramento, we provided the online coaching to 25 drivers, many of whom took the program on their phones during breaks on the buses. We had a similar size control group who didn't get the coaching. And the result, 55% difference in 30 days as measured by the fleet's telematics data. Now, today we have a growing list of fleet management experts who've taken the online certification program, including Antoine Thompson, Executive Director here at GWRCCC. We're currently working with utility fleets and municipal fleet agencies around the US, and we predict that this year you're going to be hearing more about certified idle reduced fleets in the US. I'd also like to highlight our visionary Go Green goal, which is hashtag Go Green Goal 2025. We see certified idle reduced fleet operator leaders engaging motorists, inspiring them across North America to go idle free. When we're parked and it makes sense, let's shut our engines off. Our goal is to dramatically reduce North America's 6.6 billion gallon a year idling habit within the next 3 years. So Kim, if you could hit the slide there, thank you. Let's talk about wrapping it up. Idle-free resources, how to get them. Before we get to your questions, the POV paper we'll share and we'll show you how we arrive at the audacious assessment that the typical fleet operator is spending 40% of engine hours on driver idling behavior. You'll see how we arrive at those metrics. In addition, we're going to send you the idle-free formula, a deeper dive on how our proven codified behavior modification science works and how to apply it today in a fleet operation. And you'll get the Fleet Manager's Guide. It's a guide to our complete e-learning program to see what's involved in implementing an idle reduction behavior modification initiative. All you need to do is send me an email, one email to info@GoIdleFree, and just put "saw you on the webinar" in the subject line. That's all you have to do. Just send me that email. We'll send you the research. Kim, the next slide, please. So we've come to our call to action. Perhaps we have some folks who are part of our audience here today who are also part of an organization which has a fleet operation and which you feel is ripe for an idle reduction initiative. This is an opportunity for our affiliate of this program, GWRCCC, to promote the fact that it can offer its members our program at a special rate. And if that organization comes to our website at goidlefree.com, clicks on the Contact Us button, fills out the request for a free idle reduction opportunity assessment. That is, Go Green helps guide you building the business case with our relational tool and provides a good forecast of the payback. When the visitor to our website fills out that form and says they heard about it through GWRCCC, bingo, the first organization to do that will get 5 free seats for the project. So that's my presentation. Thanks so much, Kim and Antoine, for this wonderful opportunity. Let's go idlefree.com.
All right, Ron, I want to thank you for the great information that you have provided today. I also want to thank all the members of our team that are here. I did see Laurel. I know Kim is on. I'm not sure if anyone else from our team is on. I'll acknowledge them in a minute. I did see Bruce on from Virginia Clean Cities. Bruce, welcome. Thanks for being here today as well.
And thanks, Ron. Great presentation.
Thank you. I see a good number of our members here. Zima Connect and Chance is here from as well. Parker, acknowledged him earlier. So I wanted to give you a chance to just take a few questions, but I had the first question for you.
Sure.
And so, one of the things that a lot of these folks are looking at a number of technologies, and I do see some of our fleet folks on here. What's the behavior? A lot of times people think that they take for granted the role of the driver. What's the one thing that you would stress to the fleet leaders and some of the business people and government folks that are on the phone about the importance of really working to change behavior? Because it doesn't matter whether it's a vehicle like this that where it's putting out exhaust, or even an electric vehicle. Idling behavior is idling behavior. And so what's your thoughts on that? What are some of your suggestions?
Well, I think first and foremost, as human beings, I do subscribe to the theory that the operator of the vehicle is the center of that vehicle operating universe. Still, until we have directed driving and all of that, the driver is important. And so how the driver thinks and behaves is the number one concern. In fact, I've actually had a well-known idle reduction technology leader tell me that they had done an install of their solution, and it still took the pressing of a button for the driver to initiate the solution. And they couldn't, it was really tough to get the drivers to care to do that, right? So point being that you have to be authentic and you have to be speaking in terms that the driver cares about. And when you get to their hearts and minds, as Abraham Lincoln said, virtually anything is possible. Without the hearts and minds of the public on your side, nothing's possible. And I think really, and there's a lot of fleet experts that agree with this as we go out in the marketplace with this across the US and Canada. We've got a pretty good view of this now. And that is that, you know, the driver is still that center. And when you get them engaged, everything flows from there, right?
And Ron, how do you, how can people, how can you help people get started? I think that's the big question. What's the process for you to work with some of the folks?
Yeah, so what I would suggest is the two biggest concerns are a program and how do you build the business case? And so lots of free resources on our website, Antoine, at goidlefree.com. And also, I would urge anybody on this webinar that's interested, send me the request to info at GWRCCC. I'm going to send you the Idle Free formula, among other things. So that's the deep dive. It's about 10 pages long, but it'll take you through, you know, why it works. And so in your messaging, you could actually start putting messaging around, do a little bit of research, have your marketing folks or people that you know, do your desktop publishing, what have you, come up with a little bit of a campaign that focuses on, you know, what they're going to save in their personal vehicle, what they're going to save in air quality, you know, just some of those metrics and what they're going to, how they're going to protect their vehicle. And you'll get a lot of that information from the Idle Free formula.
All right. We'll take a couple questions for Ron. Does anyone have any questions they want to put in the chat? Any questions that people want to put in the chat? I did see one friendly suggestion for you, Ron. I'm sure you saw it in the chat as well about diversity. So,
yes.
All right. So,
absolutely.
Is it okay if I speak? Because I was going to type it, but I figured if I, you know, if I could just ask. And
sure, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Well, first, I want to thank you, Antoine, for putting this together. This was an awesome Zoom call. Mr. Ron, thank you so much for the information. You learn something new every single day, right? So my name is Vinny De Oliveira, and I'm the owner of XET Life, where we happen to supply an eco-friendly burn rate modifier where we're not only saving municipalities 10% on their total fuel bill, but most importantly, we're reducing the greenhouse gases being administered into our atmosphere daily, right? So I was hoping to see if you know, I got your email at info@goidlefree.com.
Yep.
I wanted to see if there was an opportunity for us to talk offline to see if there was a joint venture opportunity that we can do. I think there's some synergy here. I think we can do some type of joint venture or some type of partnership with some of the municipalities or some of your clientels that still take fossil fuel or diesel fuel.
Yeah, absolutely, Vinny. I'd love to be able to offline. So shoot me that email and then let's connect and we'll talk about. But absolutely, our model, our go-to model is going to be through mostly through affiliates. And GWRCCC is one of them. And we have a number of other Clean Cities affiliates as well. But as well, yes, idle reduction technology players, we're interested in partnering with them and for them becoming actually affiliates. So there's, yeah, let's talk offline, Vinny. I'd love to talk more.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know,
Thank
I'm
you.
more than
I
welcome.
see we got a comment from Bridget from Rockville, Maryland, said that thank you for your presentation, learned a lot and confirmed some of my thoughts. We'll take this back to the city of Rockville for more conversation. Awesome. Great.
That's awesome. And Bridget, yeah, there's just a huge opportunity here. One of the things that we have as a goal at Go Green is to document all those downstream costs and to put some numbers around those. And we're doing that now with our partners. And as an example, life cycle costs, oh my goodness. The life cycle costs alone from 40 to 50% idling engine hours could be more than the cost of fuel from driver idling behavior. Maintenance, you know, when we add it all up, it's significant. And yesterday, like I said, I was on a call with a municipality where because of high idle and in a 7-year-old diesel asset, they're putting in a new $22,000 engine. And who can afford, you know, especially in our municipalities and, you know, our government agency fleets, look at life cycle, look at what's happening with the supply chain for parts, you know, the need for more people in the shop. So you can't afford to have 50% idling going on, you know, going through these parts, going through engines and what have you. We've got to knock that back, and there's a way to do this. And so when drivers actually take our program, we evangelize them on their personal vehicles at home where they really care. And then they go, it's not a mutually exclusive habit. You have to, once you've got the bug, so to speak, and most people get it eventually over time, they bring it to every vehicle, every piece of equipment they operate.
Right. Yeah, that was what I thought. We're just starting budget conversations in the city. So I appreciate very much what you've said. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
All right, we'll take 2 more comments or questions. Did I see any other hands go up? Okay, if not, I'm going to just give a couple quick more announcements. And one is let's thank Ron for the great information. Ron, I hope you come back and maybe in May during our policy conference or one of the other things around Earth Day. Maybe we'll get you to come back and
I would love to, Antoine. Love to.
Thank you. Thank you. The membership, please don't forget to become a member today. Annual report kickoff is on January 18th at 11 a.m. January 31st, we'll have our fleet electrification webinar. And then the second week of January, we'll have our opening reception. Once we can publicly announce that, we'll do that. Save the date, May 18th, we'll have our golf outing, but the day before, we'll have a policy conference as well. And so the 17th and 18th of May are going to be really 2 exciting events. So without further ado, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank our team. Stay tuned next week, 18th, 11 a.m. kickoff, January 31st. We'll have our fleet electrification event. Those of you who are in the DC region, there's also the kickoff of the sneak peek and policy day at the Washington Auto Show next Thursday. If you're interested in attending that event, send me an email as well today, because the last day to register for that is on Thursday for a free ticket. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day. Happy New Year to each of you.